We're not spending, we're not taking money from them.
Yeah, we're not spending, but we're, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item 17 is committee reports. Carol.
I have one from the airport. For June, the airport serviced 108 customers who purchased $9,244 in fuel, which I think is great, you know. We had our first fly-in, drive-in car show on Saturday, had a lot of success with it. 40 vehicles, 4 airplanes, had helicopter rides, nothing but good response. I could list all the people who donated raffles, but I won't because we've been here for 3 hours already. We're going to do it again next year, so just thank everybody for the support.
Any other committee reports?
The Shelby County Health Department, they did the unsealing of their bids for the building. They did not get any bids for the work, so they're going to rerun the bids in the Decatur, Pana, Effingham area to try to see if they can get some bites. On August 3rd, there will be a physical clinic for Shelby County for the kids going back to school. And they were awarded a Strengthening Illinois Public Health grant in the amount of $350,000 to be paid over 5 years. So they're doing good with their grants at the health department.
Any other committees? Heard from several of them already today.
Well, the dive team had a meeting Monday. Sunny and I were at the dive team meeting Monday.
Would you like to report on anything?
There's a lot of people there. The dive team was represented there. There's a lot of concerned members of the dive team right now. So to put it.
Any other committee reports? Okay, moving on to chairman updates. This kind of goes hand in hand with committee reports and chairman updates, but yesterday was actually the conclusion of the harvest of wheat. I haven't got the settlement sheet on that yet.
I do.
Oh, you did? Great job. What did you get?
I went to FS today, and we are going to receive a check for $117,469.04. We had Kenny brought in 20,114.61 bushels of wheat, and the ladies at the office told me that's some of the best wheat that they got in this year.
Yeah, I sent somebody over there this morning to get that check. It's already been mailed. So
That's what they said.
anyway, there is some things we need to address in a farm committee meeting with trespassing, just so everybody knows. It's going to be an issue that we're going to have to do some due diligence in figuring out how we mitigate destruction of property. So that's coming down the pipe. Other than that, that's all I've got. Number 19 is chairman appointments. I'd like to appoint Kenny Schwingle to the Board of Review.
So moved.
Jeremy makes the motion, seconded by Sonny. Any discussion?
I've got something on this issue.
Go ahead.
It was provided to me by an attorney.
Oh, yeah?
The version of the Illinois Constitution in effect in 1980, when the referendum was passed to allow for voting for the Board of Review, provided for such a referendum. It also says that any changes to how they are to be selected can only be done by another referendum. This was provided to me by an attorney. So I would say that, and then also too, I've got a Attorney General's ruling on this too, about backfilling of a position if somebody quits. But I would say that since the person that had the position resigned, I question, number one, I don't know what party this person is affiliated with, but the person that had the position was a Democrat. And then on the agenda, there are 2 appointments for this, and they both live in the same district. And there are 3 districts. There should be 1 from each district.
Okay, so the referendum that you referenced, was it a lawful referendum to begin with?
I don't know, but it's been law since it was done.
It's been law since it was done.
It's been in effect. It was voted by the people. It was in the Constitution that was in effect in 1980.
The Constitution was 1980. Go ahead, Lori.
So I was directed by a public official to the election code to discern whether the referendum was lawful at that time or not. In the election code 10 ILCS 5/28-1, the questions of public policy which have any legal effect, which this does, shall be submitted to referendum only as authorized by a statute that provides or by the Constitution. I went back to the tax code. There is no statute that allows for it to be set up this way by a referendum according to the population.
Was that the way in 1980?
This is the law. It is. And before that time,
It
I
was
was
that way in
also
71
directed-
because the Constitution was written in 71.
I was also directed to a public act. I requested the statute that allowed for that to happen. Nothing ever came to me. The question was also raised that the law changed at a certain time in the 80s, but the only change that happened was regarding the maximum population of 150,000, which we did not meet, up to 3 million. There has been nothing surface, and I've asked for the statute that allows it to change, and no one can provide it. I've been looking for 6+ weeks. So if somebody has the statute that allows it to be changed, that'd be great.
You got it.
That allows a county of our population to be changed. Do you have,
Article 7,
I mean, is this
am
part of
I
the
allowed to speak right now?
Well, means you have something in writing in your hand that you would like to bring forth, I'll allow
Go for it.
this information.
Okay, so this is what I have. It's Article 7, Section 4, Part C of the Illinois State Constitution. This is from the 1970 version that Ms. Bain was referencing. Each county shall elect a sheriff, county clerk, and treasurer, and may elect or appoint a coroner, recorder, assessor, auditor, and such other officers as provided by law or by county ordinance. Except as changed pursuant to this section, elected county officers shall be elected for terms of 4 years at general elections as provided by law. Any office may be created or eliminated, and the terms of office and manner of selection changed by county-wide referendum.
Keep going, keep reading.
No, that's it.
So-
That's it right there.
So it says by law or referendum. Well, if a referendum is only qualified by a population, then
Well, this
the
is
statute stands.
I mean, this was given to me by a lawyer as well. So this is from the Illinois State Constitution. I'm not claiming to be a constitutional scholar, but I know Ms. Nelson isn't, and I know these two guys aren't.
You read your piece. Thank you.
Yep.
I don't know, you've already read it. So the call vote, somebody call
Well,
vote?
I also had the other question about you're wanting to select 2 people from the same district.
Right, so the referendum was not lawful when it was passed in 80, or 81, or 89, whatever it was.
That's what you're saying.
Yeah, it was not
legal.
lawful then, so the districts are not lawful. Neither is none of that is lawful.
Gotcha.
And furthermore, what options do we have today? Are we gonna say the Board of Review is not gonna operate this year?
You had somebody on the agenda last month that you wouldn't call and give her the appointment. So are you going to put 2 people out of the same district on this?
That was provided that the appointment was according to a referendum. All in favor of Kenny Swingle to board review, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign.
Me. Have to wait to get down.
Teresa, no vote. Greg Brown to the board review.
Make a motion.
Lori, second by Sonny. All in favor, any discussion?
Are these people here tonight?
Kenny's here.
Yep.
Oh, I know she, the other one here?
Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next is Mike Weber to the ETSB 911 Board. This is a public safety sector appointment to the 911 Board to fill the vacancy of Troy Agnew, which resigned 2 months ago. Entertain a motion for Mike Weber. Martha, seconded by Dave. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Farm committee appointments to replace myself and Mark. I'd like to open the floor up to any nominations for the replacement of those two. Anybody have any?
Motion to table.
Motion to table. Second.
Why?
Why?
We're stepping down. I'm asking for replacements.
Well, isn't it your position to appoint somebody to those committees, since you're the chairman?
Fair enough. The committee can still operate. There's 3 out of 5 there, so.
Can we nominate some people, or can we,
Well, there's a motion to table on the floor. Is there a second?
and a motion to untable?
No, you vote no on the table. He's seconds the motion. Any discussion? No, I'm sorry, this is a motion to table. All in favor of the
Can you
motion?
discuss the motion to table?
No, it's either you table it or go back into discussion. So if
So
you
we have no
don't,
discussion on the motion to table.
if you want to discuss it, vote no on tabling. We'll go back to the motion. Motion to table's been Jeremy, seconded by Heath. All in favor of the motion for tabling committee appointments for the farm committee, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign.
Aye. Who said?
Raise
Who
it.
said?
Yes, tabling, yeses, raise your hand.
Oh my God. So,
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
Are you a 10 or,
I'm not 10,
Okay.
Kessler is.
okay, 10 would be Dave, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. 10,
What's our quorum?
19.
So the motion to table passes. All right. So it passed with aye votes of Matt, Jeremy, Tim Brown, Dave Ogden. Who do I have over here? Martha, Dawn, Annette, Brent, Heath,
Mitchell.
Mitchell. Voting yes to table.
Yeah, I got
Well, now we don't have a chairman of the farm committee.
You want to be chair of the farm committee?
So who calls the committee meeting? You talked about having a committee meeting earlier. Who calls the committee meeting?
Yeah. You want to be the chair of the committee? It's as simple as that. It's just as simple as an assignment. You want to be the chair of the committee?
Sure.
Okay, Carol, be the chair of the committee. And we'll have, hopefully have you 2 new members coming in next month. Any correspondences? None that I know of. Approval of the claims. Mark, can I make a motion to approve the claims? Seconded by Don. Discussion and approval of claims. Lori, what's it want to do now?
There's always something that has to be addressed about this thing. Is it no? Everything's good, okay.
Hearing no discussion, all in favor, we'll take a roll call vote, please.
Mark Bennett,
Yes.
Teresa Bain,
yeah.
Cody Brands,
Yes.
Tim Brown,
Yes.
Carol Cole,
Yes.
Julie Edwards,
Yeah.
Martha Fernhaber,
Yes.
Matt Kessler,
Yes.
Annette Martin, Keith McCormick,
Yes.
Tim Morse, Lori Nelson,
Yes.
David Ogden, Bobby Warman,
Yes.
Sonny Ross,
Yes.
Mitchell Shuff, Don Tate,
Yes.
Brett Wallace,
Yes.
Jeremy Williams.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Okay. Next is item 22, public body comment. Before I open the floor, I would just like to say, if you're here on behalf of the dive team, there is a special meeting next Tuesday, right here at 7 PM, I believe. So, just to throw that out there before we start public body comment. With that, we'll open the floor up. Sharon.
The 911 system, back on item number 8. Our 911 calls go to Christian County, and we're getting ARPA funds for the 911 system for radios. Do we, how are the funds shared? How are the payments shared? Because Christian County handles our 911 calls.
Okay. So, what the presentation was today was for the equipment for 911 to more fluidly interact with our agencies in Shelby County. The discussions that are in the background are basically saying that what we're trying to figure out is, how do we get that big lump sum of equipment in place without completely breaking 911, plus we would potentially have ARPA funds available to buy the equipment that would be in the county. It would just allow 911 to communicate with our EMS. So,
With strictly
And so-
Shelby County, nothing to do with Christian County.
correct. With that said, the invoicing of it, if we create an intergovernmental agreement that says we will, both parties will agree to these terms of equipment and cost, the county will obligate X percentage to the expense of the project. That's the discussion.
Because I don't think a lot of people in Shelby County realize when you call 911, it's going all the way over to Christian County, then they're calling back over here to have those calls, to have those services done. And
Right. Several years ago, there was discussions about merging with Montgomery County. And basically Montgomery County and Shelby Christian couldn't come to an agreement as far as to merge the three counties. I will say this, it seems redundant that we have our responding agency at 911 in another county. However, it is a state down tiered effect, and it's probably going to get worse from here on out as far as the coverage area that 911 dispatch centers will cover. And it's not necessarily a if or when, but the possibilities. From hearing things from the top down, it could get even broader. So, just so everybody's understanding of that, if we improve our communications within our county with a 911 dispatch center, then no matter what 911 does, we'll always have the ability to communicate well with the dispatch center. Anyway, thank you for your comment. Public body comments, anybody? We'll go right here in front of us.
Sandra Raven?
And before I forget, we do have 5 minutes, and you can yield up to 10 minutes to any given person. Please identify yourself.
I know you guys are all getting tired of hearing about the Shelby County Poor Farm, but I'd like to know if you answer to some questions I have. What happened to the money from the year that Stu Fox so graciously farmed the farm and the proceeds were turned over to the county? Where were those funds used? Who told Miss Edwards that a solar and wind farm could not be utilized on the public or on the county poor farm? And who is feeding Mr. Hanlon the idea that it's illegal to farm the land Also, it's absurd to say the entire farm is a cemetery. In all the years it's been farmed, no bones were ever unearthed. So it appears that someone has an agenda to keep the farm from being farmed. Who would that be? As far as public purpose, there are numerous sources that could utilize the money. How about the upkeep of the historical courthouse? The windows are an issue, so let's fix them. How about demolition of the old Windsor Hotel? It's been an eyesore for years. How about upkeep on the old jail that houses the Historical Genealogical Society? Those are better ideas than a public place to run four-wheelers. And who would oversee the liability on something like that? Would the county pay for liability for somebody getting injured on that? And I just think that we should farm the farm, pick a reasonable public purpose. It could be 4-H, it could be schools. There's Stu Straws, Windsor, Oakall Valley, Finley, Moweaqua, all in this county. You guys pick a public purpose. That's up to you. And as far as not paying the taxes on the county farm, I pay my taxes, so why shouldn't you guys pay the taxes on the county farm? That's it.
I have you in the back.
Yeah, Jill Miller. I'm going to be real quick because I know there's a lot of people who want to talk about the dive team. I want to know if, this is going to sound snarky, and I don't mean it that way, but Sunny is the department, or the head of the committee of the dive team, is that correct? Is that correct? Okay. So you are allowed to tell them to stand down on your own, I guess, I don't know. Does that mean now that Carol is the committee head of the farm, she could call the farmer and tell him to farm the beans tomorrow? And my other concern, also don't want to be snarky, it's a great concern, and I mean, no, I've already been told that the state's attorney, it's his office, he can do whatever he wants to in it. And since he's here tonight, I can ask him, he doesn't have to answer me. But what are the hours of the office, and does someone have to be in there from 8 to 4? Not necessarily him, I know he has a lot of places he has to go and be and whatever. But isn't it important to have someone in there answering the phones? Now, I know you said there were phone issues a couple months ago, which should now be resolved, I would think. But I don't understand it. And the reason I'm asking is because I get attached to Carol, who is my mom that's on the board. So tons of people also ask me questions. Like, I went to the state's attorney's office 3 times last week because of an order of protection, and now I can't find him. Or I've called 5 times this week and nobody answers the phone. I mean, that's fine, but if we're gonna get picky about micromanaging everybody.
I'd like to address your, issues.
Sure.
First of all, the state's attorney doesn't deal with orders of protection.
Speak up so we can hear you.
That's the first time someone has told me to speak up. So the state's attorney's office does not get involved in orders of protection.
Well, I probably shouldn't even have brought that up.
I'll continue if you.
Okay.
I've afforded you. Please respect, my time to respond to you. The reality of it is that the state's attorney's office presently does not have the administrative support that we'd like to have. There are times I'm sitting here in the courtroom, we're engaged in court activity. There's times, where I have to be in a different location to perform the function of the state's attorney's office. We've hired a new victim witness coordinator who can answer the one phone that works in the office. The phones do not work in the assistant's office.
Why?
At the other desk, because the entire county is getting a new phone system. And so would you prefer that I buy a new phone system when I can be contacted, and all the defense counsels seem to be able to reach me. So the issue of who can't reach me, might be someone from the general public, but I don't have somebody answer the phone anyway. And so the approach that I'm taking to this is to make myself available. And if you want to come and see me about something, I'm happy to schedule an appointment with you. So
that's how,
You should get the appointment.
at the end of the day, there's
how would I make an appointment with you if?
there's a telephone number right on the door. It's to my cell phone.
Okay,
I have it with me 24/7. You can
Okay.
call that number. And it pointedly gives instructions as how to reach me if that door is locked.
I thankfully don't need you, I just know there are a lot of people that do, and I've had a lot of people ask me.
Yeah, and keep in mind
And
that
it
the function of
seems
the
like that
state,
should be #1 priority, like as a board, to have someone in the office that's just answering the phone.
keep in mind that the function of the
No?
state's attorney's office is fundamentally different than most offices. If you go to the Moultrie County office, you'll find a doorway and then another doorway in between that you have to be buzzed into. It's because of certain security issues. Presently we have a number of operations that are, ongoing. And we can't have someone just walk in while we're having those discussions. And often I will say to someone, I'll hear the door open up so that I'll have to stop. I might even have to tell either a federal agent or a state investigator or somebody that I can't continue the conversation because someone has just randomly walked in. So sometimes I have to keep the door locked so that I can have those conversations. It's catch-22. I can't be everything to everybody, and I'm not going to try to be everything to everybody. Okay? Thank
I
you.
just.
Jake Cole, I think there's sometimes
No,
in the
you
sheriff's
can call that,
department,
please sit down.
haven't been able to get a hold of you within 48 hours. So they turn people loose, is that right or not? And as far as public purpose goes, my wife has employees in 28 counties that farm their farms, just like you said we couldn't do. Their public purpose is they give the money to the county and the county decides what to spend the money for. Is that right or not? Do they have a specific public purpose that they use their money for? Why don't you talk?
He doesn't have to answer.
Is he asking me or is he asking you?
He works for the, it's public body comment. People do not have to answer him.
Oh, okay, that's right. You don't have to answer, that's fine, no problem. I'm still illustrating the fact that these people do the same thing what we did for years. They, about half of them pay for the real estate tax, and about half of them don't. So I don't know what the argument is. You could write up a contract any way you want it. Part of these contracts are written up where the county pays it, and part of them are written up where the leaser pays it. And then why are we planting beans? And where do we find this public knowledge that this is a cemetery? Just because someone says this is a cemetery, does that necessarily make it a cemetery? I don't know. Is there some place we can look, some official place in the state or Shelby County where this is a cemetery? Do you think it's a cemetery? I don't think it's one. It's crazy we didn't plant these beans and cost us $68,000. It's crazy.
Public body comment.
It's all right, Bobby, I'll say my name.
Yes, please.
Chris Bain. I want to bring up a couple things that may be worth considering. First, regarding the board of review, we've already talked about this a little bit, but I want to go over it again. And the hand wringing we saw last meeting and this one regarding its legal status. I'm not an Illinois State constitutional scholar, but Article 7, Section 4, Part C of the Illinois State Constitution seems to give legal permission for the election of the board of review. It is my understanding that this came about as part of the 1970 Constitution. Article 4 reads, and I'll read it all, Kirk. Each county shall elect a sheriff, county clerk, and treasurer, and may elect or appoint a coroner, recorder, assessor, auditor, and such other officers as provided by law or by county ordinance, except as changed pursuant to this section. Elected county officers shall be elected for terms of 4 years at general elections as provided by law. Any office may be created or eliminated, and the terms of the office and manner of selection changed by countywide referendum. Oh, that's right here. I'm reading right from it.
I know you are.
Yeah, interrupt my time again. Offices other than the sheriff, county clerk, and treasurer may be eliminated, and the term of officer and manner of selection changed by law. Offices other than sheriff, county clerk, treasurer, coroner, recorder, assessor, and auditor may be eliminated, and the terms of office and manner of selection changed by county ordinance. There was a countywide referendum on the creation of the Board of Review in the early 80s, after this Constitution was passed.
No, there wasn't.
Yes, there was. Please stop interrupting me. The voters of Shelby County determined, and I'd ask the chairman to tell him to stop interrupting me. The voters of Shelby County determined that they wanted to elect their Board of Review, and as the statute claims, quote, any office may be created or eliminated, and the terms of office and manner of selection changed by countywide referendum, end quote. The county voted to make the Board of Review elected, and it is my understanding that in order to change that lawfully created Board of Review and the 3 elected positions, that you would either have to pass a county ordinance or have another voter referendum. In other words, if you want the Board of Review to no longer be elected, then you as a county board have to take the right of the people away to elect those positions in a roll call vote, telling the people they do not have a right to elect those offices, or give the voters a say on whether they want their democratic right to elect those who hear their tax disputes to be appointed rather than elected. Long story short, it is my understanding that the Shelby County Board of Review, as it is constituted, is a legal body that cannot be unilaterally swept away because you don't like it or who sits on the board. Willfully ignoring the voter referendum would seem to me to make a potential case for official misconduct, because you would be ignoring established law. This was done as well with the voter referendum for the ambulance and the voter referendum in the Dry Township, where a former board member was given a liquor license. I think the guy sitting over there can fill you in on the statutes regarding official misconduct. I would also like to ask what legal grounds board member Sonny Ross has to shut down the dive team or remove Austin Pritchard as dive commander. To state the obvious, we live in a lake community, which also has a major river running through a good part of the county. Deciding to shut down the dive team at the height of the summer lake season seems reckless to me, and I can't help but think it was a response to facing tough questions about an article from the Edgar County Watchdogs regarding a decision Mr. Pritchard made to follow his SOP. Mr. Ross said he wouldn't knowingly violate his own SOP when he was an EMT, so why was Mr. Pritchard expected to? Who gave Mr. Ross the authority to tell the team to stand down? I think Mr. Ross's reckless actions have put lives in jeopardy in this county, any visitors, and believe that he should step down from his position on the Shelby County Board. Finally, not farming the county farm is, in my opinion, a complete abdication of your fiscal responsibilities to the taxpayers. No one is actually stopping you. You have an essayist opinion that I don't think any judge would agree with, should it be taken to court, and a couple of guys whose legal bona fides, I don't know what it is. It's non-existent. Why then aren't you farming the farm to raise revenue for the county? Right. What possible reason could you have at this point? It seems that losing crop insurance is a massive failure of the farm committee and the board at large. I personally believe this has been the point since you were all elected, and I have seen no evidence to suggest otherwise. Raising these concerns doesn't make me happy. I'm sick of coming here and watching this board ignore the public to serve the phantoms of someone else's imagination. From moving public body comments, to gaslighting, to blame shifting and scapegoating, this board has not once, not ever listened to anyone in this crowd that has raised any number of legitimate concerns. But you make those guys smirk, and they seem amused. So I guess you're doing a great job.
Yeah. Very good.
Yeah.
Board advisors.
Yes, if Sonny is relieved or needs to be taken off the board, I believe that the other 2 that are on the committee should also step down, that are in charge of dive and rescue. If one fails, they all fail. I made him upset. So I want another question. I want another question. So, okay, my time. So,
Are you public comment? Are you?
so I'm gonna ask this.
Public body comment.
I'm gonna ask this.
No, he's on the board.
I'm gonna ask this.
Oh,
So, if we do not take the dive team down, we are liable for anything that would happen. Are you
You're
okay?
liable for everybody that dies on that lake while this is happening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is
Yeah.
That is on you guys for your
Okay.
mistake.
So are you okay that if we get sued for $2 million?
Yeah. You should have had plenty of time to take care of this.
You're
You
right.
not.
And the other two besides Sonny should have the same thing, right?
No,
Why not? Because that's his mother?
because they didn't attack anyone.
Oh my.
No one's attacking anybody.
This is retaliation.
This is not retaliation. Show me where it's retaliation.
It's funny because you guys had all this time to do anything and everything.
Please, this is Cody's public body comment.
Nah, I'm wasting my time. They have their mind set up
I need
already.
to go next, please. I am on that committee and I knew nothing about this going out. So you think I should be punished
Yes.
because I'm on that committee?
You were on there for 2 years, correct?
He should be in.
Were you on there for 2 years?
I've been on there since it started and I'm not so sure it's not legal. So there you go. But because of what Sonny did, and I question his authority, but because I'm on that committee, I resent him doing that without notifying me that he was going to do it. Because
So
I
no
did
one
not
ever told
agree
you.
with it.
So no one ever told you that there was no forming documents or anything?
Are you sure there isn't?
If they have, there's none been produced. Shelby, yeah.
We have asked several.
Who have you asked?
People on rescue, for one, and it involved under rescue.
I
in
might have
1970.
something else that you haven't seen too. So, but to throw me in with what was done with that dive team is totally uncalled for.
No, it's not.
And you,
Yes, it is.
accusations about me being his mother, and that's why, that's wrong too. You have badmouthed me in our committee meetings and said if it says BAME on it anywhere, I'm not approving it. I don't appreciate it. I am a board member just like you, and I should be treated like that.
Representing us, who pays your salaries?
Where's the other records you got? You said you might have some. Where they at?
Hey, what did you get?
When she did? Oh, when you guys were clapping?
I will call the next public body comment. There will be one person at a time speak, and that will be the only person that speaks. There will be not any more conversation. This is redundant with public body comment. Speak your piece, and we will move forward. Sir, over here on the right.
Terry, sir, I'm from Finley. Isn't the dive team a volunteer organization? And doesn't the Good Samaritan law cover them as far as liability going out on the lake and saving somebody? No. Am I wrong in assuming that? I'm finished for now. Thanks.
What was your name?
Terry, sir.
I think I see a hand back there. He's right.
I personally think they owe Austin an apology and reopen the dive team.
Gentleman in the back there.
I don't care.
My name's Clint Steiner. So, Mr. Kraft brought up a good point in one of the posts this week of there's no papers, Cody stated, for the organization. I served 10 years on the rescue squad down here. I was a chief for 4 years. I wasn't handed no paper. I wasn't handed no constitution or anything. We did what we thought was right, and we ran the department as a volunteer service. With that being said, it is cowardly that during your committee meeting reports that Sonny sat there and was muzzled, as he started this hailstorm this week. You guys spent 35 minutes going over I just lost my train of thought. The whistleblower of protecting employees, and when we are in a safety jeopardy right now with the dive team, you guys could have done that Monday, Tuesday, at an emergency meeting. You don't need 48 hours for an emergency meeting. These guys are on standstill. So you guys got to come together, quit pushing the blame on the last board. You guys are the board. A handful of you are doing a great job moving forward. But the problem is too many of you are wrapped into a group. The separation was just perfectly proven. Chairman, you need to gather your groups and everybody work together. The whole thing with the rescue squad dive team is, like I said, it's a safety issue right now. Contact the Corps, shut the lake off. Because, you know, Cody just stated, you know, the county getting sued. God forbid anybody get hurt on this lake right now.
Yeah.
Because I think he did an interview with the news of Moultrie County being your mutual aid. Has any of you guys reached out to these departments and talked to them? Do any of you know what their SOPs are? You do, Sonny? How many divers does Moultrie County have? You're shaking your head yes. You want to answer?
No, I'm not gonna answer.
Okay, they've got 3. 4th one's on reserve. He's sitting right here, but he's also on Shelby County. Their SOP is 3 divers. That means 3 people have to come to dive. It's a volunteer service, they all work. Shelbyville Dive Team is pretty fortunate that they have, I don't even know how many they got on their roster, but I can count a handful, and some of them are standing in here, that work local, have a response time out of this world. I live right around the corner from the dive shed. It's asinine here. You guys should have pulled an emergency meeting, got your crap together. Instead, you guys sit here on your hands and blame it on the board before. This is 7th month. It's time for you to accept it. You guys knew what you were coming into. Fix it, move on, put the insurance on that needs to be on, and get going. Thank you. I yield my time to whoever wants it. I will take 1 second though. I do have one other thing. I'm sorry. This just chaps me to no end. That Cody, you and I have had a text message here in the last couple of days. You and I served on the Findlay Fire Department for some time. It is, pardon my French, but it's a bunch of shit to call her out and say that she needs to resign when she had nothing to do with it. Yep. I respect her. Her and Mrs. Cole both are trying, and not one of you sitting in here agree with them too. So if you're forcing her to step down, sorry Martha, you should step down for conflict with your sister being in the treasurer's office. Yep. Now I yield my time.
Hello, my name is Mark Shanks. I've served as a proud member of the Shelby County Dive Team for approximately 21 years as a public safety scuba diver, swiftwater rescuer, and shore responder. It has been one of the most rewarding accomplishments of my life, knowing that I've helped save lives and bring closure to many families who've lost loved ones in a dignified and professional way. I've worked alongside a number of outstanding team members, serving the public often at the most difficult time of their lives. I have received many hugs and shared tears with family members who lost loved ones, that are so thankful for us providing needed closure and bringing their lost family member home. I've risked my life and safety on many occasions and witnessed my fellow team members do the same. I have personally donated thousands of dollars over the years to the dive team for needed equipment and supplies. I have never received any payment for my services and would not accept it if offered. I know my fellow team members feel the same, including Commander Pritchard. He has volunteered thousands of hours of his own time to train, hone skills, staff, equip, and oversee a top-notch dive team, all for no pay. Recently, our head trustee, board member Stunny Ross, admitted on camera at Monday night's trustee meeting that I, quote, haven't read every page of, end of quote, the dive team's SOPs. It's 12 pages long and widely spaced. Shouldn't the head trustee of the dive team committee read the standard operating procedures before verbally berating the dive team commander and calling for his removal? The very SOPs that were given to him when he first became a trustee several months ago, the ones that clearly state on the first page in the first paragraph of section 1, the Shelby County Dive Rescue Team, and I'm quoting directly, shall respond to the waterways within Shelby County and to those counties wherein the commander has executed a mutual aid agreement with an existing dive team therein for responses outside Shelby County to an area not covered by a mutual aid agreement and falling into one of the broad areas spelled out in section 1A. An assessment of $1,000 per call shall be charged to cover costs related to the repair, replacement, damage to gear, and to cover incurred expenses. Had Sonny read this, all of this could have been avoided. Instead, he's chosen to stick to his guns in his attack against the team and his commander for following the SOPs exactly. Claim is being made that the dive team was never properly authorized, so therefore it doesn't technically exist, I guess, and as such, doesn't have insurance coverage. According to Dave Court's original dive team commander, the dive team was authorized by the then county board as part of the rescue squad, possibly in late winter or early spring of 2000. The board had applied for and received a grant of $20,000 under the Water Rescue Act. They authorized 3 county board members to serve as trustees. They specified that the team would share the grant equally with the rescue squad and serve side by side with them, later splitting the dive team off for accounting purposes. They authorized the acquisition of diving equipment, training services, a vehicle, and space to house the team. Dave specifically asked about insurance protection for his members and was assured by the trustees that the dive team enjoyed full county insurance protection. The county board created a budget for the team, established meetings, had trustees report back to the board. Whether or not documentation has yet been found, there was clearly authorization by the board. The Water Rescue Act does not prescribe that an ordinance must be passed to constitute authorization. It only says that a municipality may authorize, fund, and continue support for a dive team. Clearly, the board at the time did all those steps successfully. The dive team does exist. If the county board failed to maintain insurance, it is solely upon them. And if the county board failed to review and correct any shortcomings in the SOPs, it is solely on them, not on Austin Pritchard. The watchdogs say they raised issues about documentation to Austin in 2020, and therefore he is culpable of any shortcomings. He acknowledges that he discussed it with them and says that it was concerns were passed to his trustees and state's attorney. He correctly assumed it was their responsibility to take the needed action. His SOPs contain nothing about his being responsible for making sure board members and state's attorneys do their job correctly. I am incensed that Austin Pritchard was attacked on social media by at least one board member. This level of unprofessionalism is unacceptable. In personnel matters, entrusted elected officials should never discuss the matter in public, on social media, or with the press until there has been a full and fair investigation of any claims and a judgment decided, minimizing unnecessary harm to persons involved. Innocent until proven guilty should be the defining guideline. On day 1 of this incident, board member Martha Fernhaber reposted the watchdog story with the comment, quote, insanely sad that Shelby County Dive Team Commander had an opportunity to assist ISP and a grieving family, and for the love of greed, opted not to. Followed by 3 mad faces. This honestly makes me sick to read. Thank you. Sonny Ross's conduct toward Austin Pritchard with rude and unprofessional texts and conversations is unacceptable as well. How can the dive team go forward knowing the head trustee has this vehement attitude towards the commander and the team that he's charged with overseeing? So today, it is with great pain that I tender my resignation from the Shelby County Dive Team. I cannot justify serving under a board with a few members that are so unsupportive of our mission, our team, and our commander. I call upon Martha Fernhaber and Sonny Ross to do the same thing for their unprofessional, uninformed, and unacceptable.
I just want to make everyone in this room aware, if you live outside of the city limits, you're not guaranteed to get an ambulance if you call one. If you go out to our lake now on your boat and you fall off or your child falls off and you can't get them, we have no dive team to call because of Mr. Ross. We have to thank for that. I personally would like to thank Commander Pritchard and all of the dive team for their efforts throughout the years in this county. I personally had a good friend drown in that lake several years ago, Bernie Klein from Pana. Some of you may remember him. He was a great guy. These guys were the ones that recovered his body for his loved ones. I think you should step down, Mr. Ross, and I think, Martha, for your comments about Austin, you should step down.
Yep.
That was childish and immature.
Out in the woods, did you use your hands?
Public body comment. Julie.
She unfortunately left, but I'm going to take exception to the comment that Tammy made about if you live outside of Shelby County or Shelby city limits, you cannot get an ambulance, because that's just blatantly false. I mean, you get an ambulance. Nobody can refuse you service. That is illegal. If you dial for an ambulance, it is illegal. I did extensive research on getting that rescinded, the vote rescinded, so that we can have more than one ambulance service within Shelby County. That is a false narrative. If you are injured or hurt, incapacitated in some way, and you require ambulance service within Shelby County, and you dial 911, an ambulance will come to your aid. I can't guarantee that. These are private businesses. The county does not manage an ambulance service. And that's horrific. My public comment, it's horrific that people are required to wait more than 30 seconds for aid, but that's the facts of life. I work in an emergency room. I work in an ICU. I understand how critical every second is. But to stand here and blatantly tell a lie to the public is part of the problem. You can dial 911, and don't shake your head, Char. You dial 911 and you will get an ambulance.
From Effingham?
From wherever it comes from. That's the way it works. Shelby County does not have an ambulance service. We have never had an ambulance service. And I'm aggravated because that was a lie. That was a lie told to the public.
I feel like you're lying.
Well, you can feel all you want, but I'm not. Prove me wrong.
Who will serve us?
Prove me wrong.
Who will serve us, Decatur?
Decatur will serve you, yes.
Really?
Yes.
Ask Jake how long it took.
Can I tell?
No, I'm not asking him anything. I'm in my public comment and I'm telling you what happens.
I understand.
If you dial 911, you will get an ambulance. I don't care if they have to come from Pana, Bethany, Finley, Stew Straws, wherever.
You're being rude.
That was a lie told to the public, and I'm correcting it. I'm done, sorry.
Public body comment. We'll go over here on the very far right. Please identify. My right, sorry.
Charlotte Watton. Julie, don't tell me to don't shake my head, because Martha sits there every week and shakes her head and smirks when people talk.
Then you should tell her not to shake her head.
Well, I'm telling you, I'll shake my head when I want to in this courtroom, because you guys work for us. And you don't, none of you act like it. A few of you do, excuse me. Not all of you. Most of you do not act like you work for this public body right here. You're working for, evidently, these guys from Edgar County and Mr. Hanlon. It's a shame. You should all be ashamed of yourselves, except for a few of you.
There's two hands
Public body comment, back row.
Michael Donald, what is the, I'm going to springboard off of what Mr. Shanks said in regards to not making public comment until we get the full story. My question is, for the board and the county, what is the standard operating procedure for public media notification? I should not see 3 or 4 posts on the Edgar County Watchdog's page until there has been enough time for the problem to get rectified here.
Amen.
Then you get the notification of what's going on. There should be no sideline deals, no smoke and mirrors, no stuff fed to the media to give them the scoop. That's what it appears like. Okay, that's what it appears like. Another thing, this is totally not related to anything here, but now we've talked about tonight. But as far as transparency, I have tried to go onto the county board's website for a number of days and find different information, and the website is still under construction. I understand as a IT professional for 32 years, I understand it takes time, but how long does the county anticipate that that page will be stood up and the documents available for the public to review, FOIA requests be filed? How long will it be? As a taxpayer, and I'm paying for that website, correct? With my tax money, I'd like to know when it's going to be stood up, and when can I expect to see better transparency for what goes on in here and in the county. Thank you.
Can I ask a question on that? What is wrong with the website? What do you need on the website?
There's not enough information. There's a lot of it's under construction. I'm trying to find forms, I'm trying to find links. For instance, today I was asking about FOIA requests. And I had to call into the clerk's office, and she was very helpful and gave me the information I needed, but I could not find a specific form that the county would use in which somebody would file a FOIA request.
Okay. We don't know what to put on there unless somebody says something. I mean, I'm not trying to say it's put the blame on
Right,
whoever.
no, I'm not.
We're building it as we go,
Right.
and if anybody has any thing that they want to see,
Is there a spot for board minutes and agendas and things like that?
there should be, yes.
There is.
Okay, I'll keep looking for that, but I'm just trying to find all the information in one-stop shop, and I know it's still under construction and it takes time,
Okay.
but.
It says on the page under construction that if you click on something, you'll be able to see some agendas, you'll be able to see the board members. I know that front page says under construction, but you just need to start clicking on stuff. There's a lot of information there.
I had Jake over here.
I'm Jake Cole. I was in the hospital with a heart attack. I exposed 3 or 4 months ago. They tried to get an ambulance to take me to Springfield. It took 4 hours for one from Effingham to get here. So I think this real quick service might not be quite true, because that's exactly what happened to me that we can prove from the hospital. Is that right, Carol, or not?
So back on the whole ambulance thing, it's a Shelbyville issue, not a county issue.
Pardon?
It's a Shelbyville issue, it's a city issue.
A city issue?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, but it's not a city issue. They got me out there, but how about getting into the hospital and treating people?
The county doesn't have ambulance service. There are numerous ambulance services within the county. There are numerous services. Shelbyville has a lack of service to its constituents.
We may not even have one, we don't know. I mean, there's no guarantee we'll have one because someone came up with some deal of, we're not even gonna have, may not even have one anymore. Because he didn't wanna pay, didn't wanna get enough tax money for people to levy. So I don't know, and then did you tell the farmer not to farm, or who told him that?
I did,
Why did you tell him that?
because the board voted to cease operations.
Bobby, your mic's off.
Sorry. The board voted to cease operations last month.
Why did they want to cease operation? Was it because it was a cemetery? Is that the reason? If it is a cemetery, would you please tell us where to look up official sites in the state or the county that it's a cemetery? This guy's saying it's a cemetery does not mean it's a cemetery. Someone officially has to decide that. There's no
It was
reason not to sell
reported that
that
it was a
farm.
cemetery.
No.
It was reported that there could be burial sites outside of the cemetery.
Pardon?
It was reported that there could be burial sites outside of the cemetery.
No, it wasn't. My wife said her mom told her that someone could be buried there. That's not a report. So
She
these guys
reported it to
said,
the board in a public meeting.
so they said because she said that at a public meeting and it's on record in the news. So are you telling me that everything that's ever been said at a public meeting and it's on public record, it's the truth? That's a
I hope
bullshit-
to shout it's not false.
That's a bullshit story.
Sometimes that.
I'll yield the horse to you, Jake.
Public body comment. Austin.
Can you hear me, Jake?
Yeah, I can.
All right.
Good job.
All right. Name's Austin Pritchard. I've been on the Shelby County Dive Team since 2009. Been the commander since 2014. I was going to hit on the history, but I think Mark already kind of covered that for me. So let's go back to where this all started, where all these problems started to go out. I know I've talked to some of you board members, and I've shared with you what transpired. June 21st, I received a phone call from an investigator, a special agent with the Illinois State Police. This special agent requested for the next day that the dive team respond to Cumberland County with our underwater video camera to look in 2 bodies of water on a rural piece of property. It was not a pond, it was not a lake, it was not a river, it was not a creek. Y'all know on a rural piece of property what other bodies of water might be there. I'm not going to say because it's still under investigation. I informed that special agent of what my SOP states. You just heard it. Mark just read it. You can go on the Watchdogs page. It's posted on there too. You can read it there. I followed my SOP. 2 hours after hanging up the phone with a special investigator, I get a phone call from Mr. Ross. Mr. Ross belittled, chastised, hammered on me for the decision I made. But yet, had I chose to go and send my team, somebody else would have chastised me, or the headline would have been different, that I stepped outside of my SOP. I made that decision. I stand by that decision. You don't have to like my decision, but now it's time to move forward. We had a committee meeting Monday. Mr. Ross did not like the fact that a lot of people showed up and a lot of people had a lot of questions for him. He was backed in a corner. He had to answer for that. For the way that Mr. Ross has talked to me, After the meeting Monday, the next day, there was text messages back and forth. One of the questions I asked Mr. Ross was, what can I do to move forward, to speed along this process after I got the stand down ordered in an email? Mr. Ross didn't call me ahead of time, said the email was coming. His response to me was, start with a clean slate, stop lying to me and anyone that speaks to you. You created this mess we are in. You knew it was a mess in 2020, but you are trying to shift the blame off on me. Knock it off. If we are going to work together, you have several fences to mend, starting with me. I didn't create this problem. I didn't create this mess. That SOP has been in place for many years. The formation or lack of formation of the dive team, we've been operating for 23 years. Now you can't tell me that there isn't something somewhere. There's got to be something. Maybe the paperwork has been destroyed or lost. I don't know. But we've been funded for 23 years. So every year that a board voted on a budget, that's de facto authorization. You authorized to fund the dive team. So there's got to be something there. We started out as a leg, as an arm of the rescue squad. And Clint helped me out. It may have been before we were ever together for a full year. It was decided to separate because it was too much for the chief at one time to take care of all that.
1976 is when the dive team started, and then it
Well,
I'm talking about
fade-
current, just faded out, and then it come back in the late 80s, and then 2000 is when the chief and the dive team separated because of the additional training that needed to be done, so it was handed off to the prior commander to take business.
So for 23 years, we've been told we've got insurance. We've been told we're protected. And then all of a sudden now we are not. What has changed in 23 years to make it different? Moving on from that, Mr. Ross called me. What night was that? Last night. I apologize, I've been through a lot in the last few weeks, but Mr. Ross called me last night. Mr. Ross started the conversation, it was okay, and he told me what his expectations were and out of me. But the longer the conversation went on, the worse the conversation got. Mr. Ross told me last night that I needed to step down, that I needed to step aside. He wanted to know from who my assistant commanders were, because he couldn't work with me because I'm a liar. Mr. Ross evidently thinks that all of this is on my shoulders, that I caused this. Now, I just told you I started the team I joined the team in 2009. So the current generation was started in 2000. So if there's no formation documents, how's that on me? And again, it's been asked already, how does Mr. Ross have the authority to tell us to stand down? I guarantee you ask any one of these men and women that are on this team to go out there right now and do something, and they get hurt, it's not in their nature to sue this county. That's not what we do. We go out there to help people. We go out there to rescue. We go out there to recover. We volunteer our time, just like many others. At this point in time, Mr. Ross says he can't work with me moving forward. So if that's the case, then Mr. Ross needs to be removed from the committee. Because I'm not going to step down. I'm not going to resign. Now, if Mr. Ross or this full board feels that I need to be removed, then put it to a vote and remove me. Because then it's on you. I am not going to walk away from the citizens of this county. I am not going to walk away from the years that I have spent putting in time and effort and helping to build this dive team, helping to build upon what previous commanders have done. Because of a few narcissists on this board. I'm not saying everybody on this board is that way. But I think it's already been pointed out, there's a couple of you that probably ought to step down.
I yield my time. Yield my time. I yield my time.
Where are we at, Bobby?
You are yielding once you start scratching off time.
Where are we at, Bobby?
We're at 9.
Okay. So, moving forward, I have said that I will do what it takes to get things corrected, to whatever my part of this is. I don't think it's my job to secure insurance. Does anybody ask the sheriff to secure insurance for the sheriff's department? It's not my job. My job as a commander is to go out there and lead a team in a rescue, a recovery, that kind of thing. The rest of that is on you guys as a board, and we have to work together. And I'm more than willing to do that. But when board members are going to start posting stuff on Facebook, it's very unprofessional. Go back through all those posts. I haven't posted anything on there. I've stayed off of it. Although I've read it, there's been many comments I've wanted to make. But no, it's not professional for me as a team commander to get on there and start making comments and debating with people on social media. That's why I'm here right now. That's why I'll be here Tuesday night for the special meeting. It's time to move forward. If something needs to be fixed, then let's get it fixed. Because of all this, I have lost a team member that resigned with, Mark, we're pretty close to 20 years, right?
21.
21 years of service. A team that's got 130 plus years of combined experience. I guess I can say it's 110 now. It's time to move forward, folks. Stop with the crap. Sonny, if you've got a vendetta with me, if you've got a personal beef with me, you need to get over it. It's the same crap you pulled in Windsor. Get over it. You're not King Sonny. Nobody's going to bow down and kiss your ring. It's not going to happen.
Austin, you're a minute and a half over even the max limit. I've given you a lot of leeway.
Thank you, Bobby. It's time to move forward.
Everybody comments. Back here on the back wall.
Okay. My name's Jeff Gregg, and I came here tonight to show support for the dive team, and I think they've illustrated, a couple of these gentlemen, maybe more, have illustrated their points, and so I won't go into that. What I was struck by, the county's lost, a lot of good employees, at least that's what I hear. And I heard the health department man tonight basically beg this board to let him run his department. He illustrated it very well, how his payroll is done, how it's internally done. There's audits that are done. Let me run my department. And instead, this board shoved it right up his end that's how you lose good employees. You know, the man stood here intelligently, laid out the deal. This is how we do it. This is how it's done. It is audited. I keep it internally. It's reported this way. 9 Ways to Sunday, he explained how they run their department, and it sounded to me, unless I'm misreading this gentleman, he looked to be intelligent, trustworthy, probably a good leader. Let him run his damn department. Leave him alone. But no, we're going to shove something down his throat. And that's what I say.
Yeah,
I've got one.
I got right here in the center. Freddie.
I just want to go back to the website. We started one before. There were some of us that had our pages. We had a presence. We are like ShelbyVille.com, Shelby County Tourism. We do the visitor guide. We do the website. So nothing's happening, and some things don't seem to be there. But one of my pet peeves is misinformation, especially when we're trying to promote our communities, our county, to grow. So I did mention the fact that we have some real mistakes on the homepage because we are not hydroelectric and providing power for Central Illinois. I'm not sure what the vase of apples had to do with anything. And your side panels on the websites are skyscraper windows. I have thousands of pictures. There are probably other people in here that have websites, promote things, have tools. Why not have a committee who helps with layout or helps to proofread or helps with those people who will be on there? We no longer have a link on the county website. So I don't understand that. So if that could be put back on there, we have quite an outreach, and we are happy to share anybody who comes through our site to visit the other things we have to offer.
Just public body comment. In the back, sir.
Jeff Slifer, ain't gonna be long, we're all ready to go to bed. I'll talk about the farm a little bit. There's a lot of people disappointed on not getting stubble beans planted, but we're all overlooking one thing. When you see Kenny Compton, thank him, he done a remarkable job. That's all I got.
I did. Yeah, he put a lot of diligence into the harvest in the last week or so. When the weather shifted, it just turned into a massive headache to get things wrapped up. So, yeah, he did a stellar job.
Yeah, I have a question about that.
Carol.
Did you tell Kenny he was not supposed to farm? He's not supposed to
I
plant
told
beans?
Kenny that the board elected not to continue operations, which means once we're done, we're done.
According to his contract, he's supposed to get a 30-day notice in writing, and he never got that. So I'm assuming he can still farm. The contract says to plant and harvest wheat and beans.
Okay.
But he was never received anything in writing.
Okay. I'm not going to do it. Farm committee meeting. Public body comment. Tim.
Just, if you didn't get a chance to go to the airport, to the drive-in, fly-in, they did a really nice job. It was a nice time. And my other comment is just, a lot of this stuff wouldn't have to happen if we just treated each other nicely.
Yay.
Work it out instead of just having a fit and not doing things. And I think that ought to be what we ought to try to do as our first option. So that's all I have to say.
Public body comment. Jake, you're out of time. Back row.
Said you're out of time.
My name is Nicholas Quick. I'm one of the administrative commanders for the Shelby County Dive Team. I am absolutely appalled by some of the comments that were made on Facebook by board members here. We've got some great support, and I appreciate the board members that are supportive, but I am just astonished that members of an organization would actively attack a commander within the county on Facebook. And I'm talking to Cody, I'm talking to Martha. I can't say that because I don't remember. That's all right. There was another one on there that I seen post, and totally inappropriate. It shouldn't have been done. If you have a disagreement with somebody, it needs to be I'd say man to man, but woman to man, or what. You need to go to the person and talk to the person. That's how you work through things. I do find this whole thing kind of coincidental. On Monday, Mr. Ross was embarrassed. On Wednesday, the dive teams stood down. There's been mention that Moultrie County's on standby. They're 28 minutes away, folks. 28 minutes. If you have ever needed emergency services, 1 minute is an hour. 28 minutes for help to come. And that's if they're sitting at the station waiting for your call. They're volunteers just like we are. They have a full-time job. This is not on the agenda until Tuesday. 48 hours. Why isn't it 48 hours from today? Why do we need to wait until Tuesday? Somebody's going to end up getting hurt, and it's this board that's responsible for it. Not the previous boards, not Austin, not the Shelby County Dive Team, not Moultrie County that's going to respond, this board. 48 hours, folks, before you get somebody killed. That's all I've got.
Public body comment, over here on the left.
I'll keep it pretty short and sweet. So, Jordan Davis, I just dive for the dive team. That's pretty much all I do. I've got a question. If you were to remove Austin and you left, and I'm not saying that you're gonna, but if you left him in place, what happens when the next commander disagrees with Mr. Ross or Mrs. Bain? I'm not saying Mrs. Bain has ever disagreed with us. She's been a super supporter, but sometimes there's dissent. Sometimes two people that lead are not going to see eye to eye. But there's got to be something besides the way this is working out. And I know you may not have all the answers tonight. I know we're going to have something on this on Tuesday, and I will be there. But I just want to make sure that that's known that, hey, just because they disagree doesn't mean he should be removed from his post. And the rest of us have been put on standby. This is a public service. Do you think any one of us, there's 16 members on this dive team, do you think any one of us is going to stand up after you just behead him in public and say, oh yeah, let me throw my hand in the air so I can be the next example, the next screw up? I know we have guidelines and they may have issues, but I mean, we got to fix them as a board. You guys have been in it for 7 months. If Mr. Ross knew about this for 7 months, and what is Austin supposed to do with that information? Okay, well, if Mr. Ross has known for 3 years, he's been in for 7 months. I guess all my comments.
Austin, who put you in position?
In 2004, well, the prior commander was Scotty and Golf. In 2013, he went to.
Find the question.
Well, I'm gonna get there quick.
Was it board chair or was it the
He's got my
team?
I've got her comment.
The committee, our committee, it was made up of Gary Gergany, Lynn Williams, and at that time, Dick Clark. They are the ones that approve me taking over command.
Matt?
Unless the public comment wants to speak.
Yeah, there's a hand back up here in the very back. Yes, sir.
I just want to reiterate what Austin said. Same thing with the rescue squad is I have the same board, we call them trustees, you guys call them committee members. So they met, and any appointment that was made, they took it to the board, county board, which is you all, and they done the final approval. It was an appointment from them, voted through our department's heads, or members to say, agreed upon by the board members, or trustees, and then brought to the board for approval.
Public body comment. Jake, you got time?
I got something.
John?
If that approval process was accomplished, then there should be committee meeting minutes written, county board meeting minutes written and approved, establishing that that did happen. The other thing, First Amendment, everybody has a right to speak. Everybody has a right to picket out front of the building. They can bring their picket signs into the county boardroom if they wanted. Every elected official has the same First Amendment right as every citizen, to include coming out of a closed session meeting and finding the first person that they want to talk to and tell them everything that happened in closed session and who said what. There's no law against that, and the public body can't extract any revenge on the elected official that does do that. And the same goes for other information that's passed back and forth. We generally FOIA request stuff, but if an elected official wants to pass information to us, 1 millisecond after they receive it on their email, more power to them. They got a First Amendment right just like everybody else. And I'm not saying anybody has forwarded this information 1 millisecond after it's received. We found out about the special meeting after it was on somebody's Facebook post, and we copied that photo and wrote an article and posted about the special meeting. My final issue, and I won't read all these documents I was prepared to read, but policies that are adopted, whether they're adopted by a county or a city or a township or a fire district or a dive team, the policies that are adopted have to comply with state law. If state law doesn't grant a county or a fire district or a dive team to charge for services, they don't have the power to charge for services. So any policy that says, and I'm not faulting you for following your policy, but any policy that says charge $1,000 for anybody outside the district or outside the county is wrong. You can't do it. And back in July 13 of 2020, or January 30 of 2020, I believe I sent you an email that said you might consider asking State Representative Brad Halbert to author a bill that would amend the county's code. Let me start over. Can I get my time back? You might consider asking State Representative Brad Halbert to author a bill that would amend the county's code, or whatever statute you fall under, to permit charging non-residents for services similar to the other emergency service agencies that are authorized to charge for that service. And I understand you gave that to the state's attorney and somebody else, and maybe somebody should ask the former state's attorney what she did with that. Did she act on it?
She was great.
Did she say, oh, you can charge whatever the hell you want? Or did she actually look at the law and realize you can't charge? So it's not, and I'm not going to place blame on anybody. It's not, the blame doesn't rest totally on this board. The blame doesn't rest with Mr. Pritchard, I almost said Pritzker, but Pritchard, and it doesn't rest entirely on the past board. It doesn't rest on this state's attorney or the previous state's attorney. Somebody didn't do their job, but regardless, if a policy is passed that violates state law, it's invalid. That's all I got. Thanks.
Never heard me clap.
I don't do it for claps.
Mr. Orman has got a hand up here.
Yes, go ahead.
I just got a couple of comments. I said a few meetings ago, there's always answers to questions. And sometimes you don't like the answers, but I really encourage getting the answers. I'll address the board, but some of these questions came from the public, but I'll address the board so you have the answers. What are your office hours? If you look in the state statute for the circuit clerk, I believe the circuit clerk, I know the treasurer, I know the county clerk, state law gives you the hours those doors are required to be open for service to the public. There is no provision for some offices like there is for the clerk's office and the treasurer's office. So to answer the question, what are the hours? It's in the state law. If it's not in the state law, there's no designated hours. And you may like or not like it, that's just the way the law is. In regards to the county officers, section 4, any office may be created or eliminated. The Department of Revenue, the Revenue Code, created the Office of Board of Review. You can't create an office that a state law creates. You're reading the Constitution and the language incorrectly. You can create an office.
Are you a lawyer?
No, sir, I'm not a lawyer, whoever asked. I'm not. But you don't need to be to understand basic English once you learn how to read those statutes and apply them based on how the courts have applied them. We've talked to the Department of Elections. We've talked to multiple lawyers and law firms on this subject, and the creation of an office is only applicable within the county offices. And a Department of Revenue, the Revenue Code creates that office of the Board of Review and controls the whole aspect of it, not the county. And that's why the question got raised, how this was done. The referendum wasn't to create a position. The referendum was to say this position is going to be elected. So it's misreading what's in the Constitution. And you mentioned you have a letter from a lawyer. You've mentioned this in a public meeting. I'd encourage you to give it to the clerk so we can all read it. Maybe you have something that's completely different than anything anybody else has seen. But when we don't share that information, people are left to make an assumption that may or may not be right. And that's where the dialogue has to come back and forth. Now, I'll address one quick thing with Austin. We've talked a few times on the phone in the past. Before I published my article, I did ask a question of you to get some clarification. I referenced that. I didn't hear from you. Doesn't matter. You don't have to answer. I understand that. I was just looking for clarification. Can I use some of your time to answer you?
Yeah, no problem.
I was at work. You sent the email at 9:30.
No, and
I didn't see the email until noon.
no problem. And it wasn't a problem because the point that I wanted to make, and we talked in the email years ago, we talked about the policies and what you can and can't do and the AG opinions. We knew within the policy you can't charge. And that was one of the big issues. And we know back then, whoever got it, when I looked at the policies, it says in the policy that it's been approved by the county board. Well, I avoided all that. There's no minutes approving it, but what is signed as approved is committee members. And in that last paragraph where it's assigned, the statute it references is not even the Water Rescue Act. So whatever was adopted way back when had all kinds of problems. It's simple to fix. It's not hard. It's simple to fix the insurance thing, but I understand where everybody's coming from with having emergency services. I do. Excuse me?
Go ahead.
But on the flip side,
On the flip side, I urge you to take into consideration, if something does happen to a dive member, that dive member may never do anything to sue the county as an entity. But that doesn't mean a family member won't. And having the insurance protects everybody, not just the dive team, but the entire county. And I say that for the single purpose of where the watchdogs got started. It started from a 911 call for an 11-day-old baby not breathing. And we identified, as we went through this chain of events of that call that night, that our dispatchers had not been certified for 6 years. They're required to be licensed by IDPH to dispatch medical calls. They were not. If you go and you Google or go on YouTube, Edgar County 911, Eastern Illinois did a news story on it. That's where we got the idea of maybe we need to get the information out to the public. It's still up on Eastern's page. In that, excuse me? My time up?
I'll yield the rest of mine.
You've got 45 seconds.
Short and sweet. In that process, my concern when I went to the county board and said our dispatchers aren't certified, they lied to me. They said they were. My first FOIA ever was to the Department of Public Health. We proved that they had never been certified for 6 straight years, and our 911 center was never even licensed to operate. So we took steps to fix it. That's all you have here is take steps to fix it. I didn't give a rat's hiney who didn't do their job. Fix it. That's the important thing. That's all I have. Thank you.
Public body comment, over here on the right. Please identify yourself.
Did we fix everything in Edgar County then? And Shelby County's the only one that's got the problem?
Can I answer?
To answer that, we're all over the state. All over
Yeah,
that
yeah,
problem.
oh yeah, well, I mean, Danville I hear about all the time.
I want to know why we're taking legal advice from non-lawyers.
Who gave legal advice?
You.
No, we didn't.
That's all I have.
I'll go over here Park Board.
Hi, my name's Alex Shanks. I'm Mark Shanks' son. I just want to take a quick minute to thank him for his 21 years of service. I think a lot of you on the board are very supportive. I was a lot younger then, those years, but growing up, I remember my mom, every time this pager went off, thinking she might have to raise her kids alone because it is a very dangerous job to do. It's sometimes a pretty thankless job. The bottom of Lake Shelbyville is not like Key West, Florida, where you can see everything and not get tangled up in things and everything else. So it's very dangerous, and he's done a great job, and all of his team members have done a great job. And I think what Austin said, let's move on, let's fix whatever we need to do and get this back on track is the right and the appropriate approach to do. And I think that if a lot of you on the board want to maybe commend the team for doing a great job and just let them know that you have their backs, that I would be appreciative to them because they do a lot of volunteer work for us.
This is as tall as I get. I do apologize. It is about tall as I am.
Jeff, let her stand on your lap.
My name is Summer Barracks. I am with the dive team. I have not been on for very long, and I know everybody's tired and hungry and getting cranky like me. So I just want to say, I know tensions are high right now, and everybody is frustrated, and everybody's going at each other's throats. But, you know, it takes a lot to do what Austin's done for many odd years, and Shanks, what he's done for many odd years, and everybody else on the dive team. That's like getting up 3 o'clock in the morning, we got a call, we gotta go, and then turning around and going to work. It is hard to do, and like I said, everybody's mad at each other, and everybody's gonna point fingers and everything. But the thing is, what are you gonna do? If you guys decide, I don't like him, he's gonna leave, exactly what he said, nobody else is gonna want it because we're gonna have a target on our head next. what are you gonna do if everybody decides, okay, we don't need you, we don't want you because I don't like you? And we need to give, like they also said, we need to move forward with that. Everybody needs to come together and get their heads together. This isn't high school. We can't keep attacking each other. We need to come together and like, okay, we didn't agree with this in the SOP. We need to amend that. We need to fix that. Things need to be changed to move forward. And that's a lot of frustration that's coming out right now is he followed his SOP, but other people did not agree with that. And then all of a sudden, he's the bad person. But the thing is like, if you guys didn't like that in the SOP, it should have been changed. So going forward, that should be amended, that should be changed, instead of being attacked for him following what he was doing. And a lot of people are mad right now because, yeah, stuff happened on Monday, and this feels a lot like retaliation. And we just need to get people together, get heads together, clear heads, and go forward from it. That's all I got.
Just real quick, I want to respond to what the cameraman said about, it's the First Amendment right for the board members to come out and tell all to anybody after a closed door session. They have that right, probably not illegal. The only thing I could respond to that is just because you can doesn't mean you should. And, there's something called professionalism that probably should be in place if you're on a county board, and that's all I really have to say.
Dave Ogden, board member. Mark, in the heat of this battle, I would personally like for you to reconsider your resignation and come back onto the night team.
Yes.
If you're ready to retire, thank you. Thank you. But if you're not, get a hold of that guy and get back on.
Yeah, Bobby, I want to say the same thing. I was going to ask Mr. Shanks if you would reconsider that, your retirement. I will just say, knowing Sonny, working with Sonny, he likes to do things right, and watching Austin. Austin actually called me because I had commented. I hope Austin clarifies his position on this. Austin called me, and we had a great conversation. And I just clarified with Austin that I 100% support what you guys do. Who wouldn't? And the time that you guys put into it. And I also support 100% what Sonny's trying to do in making sure you guys are legally correct. And your SOPs are legally correct. All those things are important things. So I hope you guys are committed to working together. It's not helpful when we start calling for each other's resignations. Sometimes we just got to bury the hatchet, shake hands, and say, let's go forward and learn from what we did. But Mr. Shanks, thank you for your service. I hope you reconsider.
So long as I'm not staying here late and we're talking all things legal, fair, and right. I have two board members here, actually. I thought I would just go ahead because I'm tired, so I'll say it. Is there any way that we could enforce the 3% hotel motel tax onto the people who are not paying or registering? That's our funding. I'm not paid by the county. I'm no part of the general revenue. We do a lot of outreach. And to not have anybody willing to write that letter, it's the county ordinance. It would be nice if the state's attorney could write that letter, send it out, let them know this is not an elective. You will collect the accommodations tax. So, thank you.
Public body comment.
I yield the rest of my time to Jake.
No, Linda said I could borrow her time, I'm not.
Carol will give you her time.
So I'm not allowed to say anything, is that right?
It's under the discretion of the chair.
You know, Sonny, I've had a experience in the past with the Edgar County Watchdogs. They attacked a couple real good friends of our family. They made allegations against them, and those allegations were not proven. They've attacked people in Shelby County. Laugh if you want to, I don't care. So they've attacked people in Shelby County.
Not a lot
Nothing
matters,
has been
sir.
proven in a court of law. So far, all these have been accusations and allegations with no proof of anything. That's the reason I'm saying no proof, and neither did they prove anything against these two friends of ours. So I really don't have much use for their opinions or care what they say. I don't think they belong here. I think they tore up Shelby County from one end to the other, and it's absolutely time for them to stop and go back to Edgar County, and you can laugh if you want to, I don't mind. You were laughing in the summer a while ago. That's what kind of person you really are. You're gonna sit there and laugh at people that are trying to say something and explain something. Have you proven anyone guilty? Is anyone guilty in a court of law, son? Have you seen that happen? I haven't.
Okay.
I'm out of time.
I said I'd be back, and I'm back, and my message is still the same about humanity, and I think we saw the best of humanity with the dive team here, and that's encouraging, and that should give people hope. Instead of having a group of people come in here and say, if you don't do what I want, we're all finished with you. They still want to serve their community. They want to go to work. And I appreciate that. And I agree about professionalism. You know, I understand the public says some pretty nasty things sometimes, I get it. But we're not elected, you are. And you need to be, when you're in that position and you want to get on the computer and you want to go after people because you're ticked off, I get that too. But it's not right when you're going after employees without even speaking to them, without giving them an opportunity. A lot of times you'll go into a school board, their agenda says we will not discuss personnel. Personnel is discussed in executive session. I just hope that you try to remain professional, even under tough circumstances, because I know that they can be tough circumstances. The other thing I want to say, actually I'm going to close with something that's meant a lot to me over the years, because a lot of times I've had a plank in my eye. Why do you look at the speck of sawdust in your brother's eye and pay no attention to the plank in your own eye? How can you say to your brother, let me take the speck out of your eye, when all the time there's a plank in your own eye? You hypocrite, first take the plank out of your own eye, and then you will see clearly to remove the speck from your brother's eye. I think that we really need to think about that verse and listen. I call a lot of you, and some of you are very polite, and I want to say thank you for that. But I feel like a lot of times it just goes in one ear and right out the other, especially when I come and I see the same behavior over and over again at board meetings. That's disappointing, because I do expect more out of a lot of you. And I hope I see that. My one last comment, I'm not going to call for anybody's resignation. I know what that's like. I think that people need to look into their own actions and decide what you think you need to do and do what's best for the county. And if stepping aside is what's best for the county, do what you need to do. Thank you.
I'm not a very good public comment person, but I just feel like this part needs to be said.
everybody in this corner on the Shelby County is on the Shelby County dive team. You have wives, sisters, brothers, sons that are here supporting the dive team because we're family. That is what we do. Myself, Amy, a few others here, we're not on the dive team, but we are family, and we are going to support our family as much as we can. And that's the way this board should be. Sonny, if you felt attacked Monday night by having these family members stick up with their family, I'm sorry, I apologize, and I shouldn't have to. You have a family that should support you as well. The fact that nobody else was there, don't retaliate on Austin. That's not how it's done. This is a family. You affect one person, you affect all of us.
Public body comment. Public body comment. Public body comment. Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Jeremy, second by Lori. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Motion carries.